Okay, so let's jump right in. In today's explainer, we're going to unpack the fascinating and honestly sometimes agonizing psychology behind why losing feels like absolute torture. Specifically, we're diving into why our brains turn taking a simple financial loss into a completely excruciating experience. Whether you're an active trader, a casual investor, or just someone curious about human behavior, you have likely fallen into this trap. So today, we're going to break down exactly why it happens and, more importantly, how you can overcome it. Picture this, because it is a very common scenario. You buy a stock at 1,000 rupees. Your setup is perfect, right? Flawless entry. But, well, the market doesn't really care about your analysis. A week later, it drops to 900 rupees. You tell yourself, it's just a temporary correction. Then boom, 800 rupees. Now your brain pivots to, okay, I'll just wait a bit and sell when it gets back to my buying price. Fast forward a few months, and the stock is sitting at 600 rupees. Your capital is totally locked up, but you still absolutely refuse to sell. Be honest with me here. Does that sound familiar? Have you ever held on to a bleeding position just praying the market would suddenly turn around and bail you out? You know, it's funny how when a trade is green, we rush to take profits. But the second it goes red, we suddenly become long-term investors. It's that whole just give it a little more time mindset. And man, that little more usually ends up being the most expensive decision we make. Millions of incredibly smart people do this every single day, not because they're bad at math, but because of how our brains are literally hardwired. Section 1. Why losing is torture. Let's look at the exact psychological trap that's working against you. This psychological trap is brilliantly illustrated by some groundbreaking research from behavioral psychologists Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky. Let's look at two different people. Person A just made $50,000. Person B just lost $50,000. Objectively speaking, structurally, the amount of money is exactly the same, right? But emotionally, totally different universes. Kahneman and Tversky actually found that the emotional pain of losing money is drastically stronger, often twice as intense, as the pleasure of gaining that exact same amount. And this throws us right into a psychological state known as loss aversion. Because accepting a loss hurts so incredibly much emotionally, we go to pretty extreme lengths to avoid finalizing it. We basically choose the cozy comfort of hope over the cold, hard reality of the present moment. We completely ignore our logic, we blow past our stop losses, and we just sit there waiting, hoping things magically turn around so we don't have to actually feel that intense pain. Section 2. The sunk cost fallacy and escaping the trap. This is a mental glitch you've almost certainly run into outside the markets. Think about going to the movies. You buy a ticket, grab a seat, and halfway through the film, you realize it is unbelievably boring, just a total waste of time. Do you get up and leave? Most of us don't. We sit through the misery because we think, well, I already paid for the ticket, I might as well stay. But here's the thing, staying doesn't get your money back. That money is gone either way. By staying, you're literally just wasting your time on top of your money. In the investing world, this trap sounds exactly like your inner monologue desperately trying to justify a terrible trade just because of the time, money, or emotional energy you've already thrown at it. You've heard it, right? Oh, I've invested 2 lakhs, or I've averaged down 3 times already, or I've held this for 2 years, I can't give up now. You just feel like you are way too invested to turn back. To break that spell, you've got to ask yourself one brutally honest question. If you had absolutely no prior position today, like zero past investment, zero emotional baggage, would you actively buy this asset right now, based on current evidence? If the honest answer is no, then your past investment is absolutely not a valid reason to keep holding it, period. Otherwise, you're just letting the past completely dictate your future. Section 3, Ego versus Reality, the inner battle. Here's where we realize the biggest obstacle isn't the market at all, it's your own ego. Because the true torture of a losing trade usually isn't even about losing the cash. It's the intense psychological agony of admitting a personal failure, of being proven wrong. You see, the second you enter a trade, your brain attaches to that idea. It becomes your personal prediction. So when the market moves against you, it feels like a personal attack. Instead of asking, hey, what is the market trying to tell me here? You start saying, no, the market is irrational. I just need a little more time to be proven right. You start desperately hunting for confirmation bias, any random news article or expert opinion that tells you what you want to hear, just to shield your ego. And this creates such a stark contrast between an amateur and a professional. An amateur steps into the market with this deep-seated need to be proven right. They're playing to protect their ego. A professional, though, they enter with one extremely simple goal: to make money. They are there to protect their capital.
If your ego takes a hit, you can easily recover. But in trading and investing, if your capital gets wiped out, game over.
And shifting that mindset changes how you view a loss entirely. While an amateur sees a red screen as this devastating personal failure or punishment, a pro just calmly views a loss as a standard business expense. Think of a shop owner paying their rent or their electricity bill. It's just a totally normal cost of doing business. For the professional, taking a small, controlled loss is literally just the cost of buying information from the market. They accept it, and they definitely don't run from it.
Section 4, thinking like a professional. Systems over emotions. Because beating this isn't about ignoring your feelings. It's about building an actionable framework that operates above them.
Before a professional ever even clicks buy, they meticulously define their rules. They ask themselves, why am I entering? Under what exact conditions will I exit? What is my absolute max risk? And how am I going to respond if some crazy new information drops? They step into the market with a rigid system instead of a prayer. They know they can't control the storm of the market, but their predefined rules, like a hard stop loss, act as their steering wheel to navigate through it safely. And they also keep a strict trading journal. But we're not just talking about logging profits and losses here. They document the actual logic. Why did I enter? What was the hard evidence? And, most importantly, what specific market action would prove my whole thesis wrong? By writing all this down beforehand, they can actually review the quality of their decisions objectively later on, rather than just judging themselves by the emotional high or low of the final number. It is all about the process, not just the result. Ultimately, you've just got to accept this one unyielding reality. The market is entirely blind to you. It doesn't know your hopes. It definitely doesn't know your buying price. It has no idea how many hours you stared at those charts, and it absolutely does not care about your desperate recovery plans. The market only respects price and reality. Hope is just not an investment strategy. So, I'm going to leave you with this provocative thought to chew on. When you look at your portfolio tomorrow morning, I want you to take a hard look at your losing positions. Ask yourself, honestly, are you holding those assets based on concrete, present-day evidence? Or are you just torturing yourself to avoid the short-term emotional pain of admitting you were wrong? Remember, the biggest breakout you can ever have isn't on a chart. It's right there in your own mindset. Keep learning, keep evolving, and let's start making those decisions based on evidence, not ego.